Hello and welcome. So with the last episode it was just about time for XP weekend, so I sold the claws I had that I got last episode. And the second one was from one that I bought earlier before I actually got the claws, and yeah, I ended up selling both of them. And the reason it's been a while since the last episode was because it got harder and harder to remember where exactly I left off. I have about 4 hours of clips total for this and the next episode, so I went to Corp with people from the Runescape clan. It was a nice short event, and it's a lot easier now with Ganodermic. Before it was actually scary using Carols. So as another week went by, I got some weekly free XP for just being in the clan. And from camping at the Citadel, I got 91 smithing at no real cost besides the time it takes. Anyway, back to double XP weekend. Since it was announced, I had to gather as much charms as I could before it actually started to get my summoning as high as possible. So I went to try the KBD, which is actually pretty decent charms pre-EOC. So I stayed there for a bit, but not for too long. But before leaving, I actually got my first KBD head on discount ever. And I believe you're able to put it somewhere in your house and get like Slayer XP from it. Although I'm not too familiar with the construction skill, because honestly I don't really like construction. You just repeat the same thing over and over, and it's a bit click intensive, and I never figured out how to properly get mouse keys on a Mac. So I went to Waterfiends and actually picked up An Effigy, which is the one, I think this is the first one I've actually gotten in the series. I'm not entirely sure about that though, but I think I should actually start keeping track of what items I get during the series in like the description. But I actually got this Effigy during bonus XP weekend, and you can tell by looking at the top, you can see that plus by the XP circle thing. That plus is showing that it's during bonus XP, and the reason I'm here is because I didn't have enough charms yet for my goal during bonus XP weekend. So 70% of my double XP weekend was spent probably gathering charms, and the rest was actually like maybe 2 hours or 1 hour actually just using the charms itself. So as part of my daily, I bought raw bird meat from the shop at Ooglog, and a friend of mine told me that raw bird's meat were selling for over 1,000 each in the Grand Exchange. So instantly I ran to the GE, put it in for like 1.4k, and some sold right away. Eventually it all sold, but I don't have a picture of that, but that's a nice little profit I got right there. Also, there have been some changes to the daily, because as of now, like things like buying death runes daily, that's probably bad because death runes are not as useful in the EOC, so I can't change that in the earlier episode now, but I guess I just have to tell you guys here. But so since double XP weekend has started, I first burned away my gold charms at the summoning obelisk in Taverley. The pouches are worth close to nothing, so using them here is probably better in terms of efficiency and GP, as opposed to just using the kite method, which is a tad slower, but these aren't really worth much, so it's not that much money lost. Once I finished using up my gold charms at Taverley, I grabbed a Kayat to use the rest of my charms. I made Moss Titans, which is the highest thing I could make at the time for my Crimson charms. I think I'm aiming for about level 92 summoning so I can make a Whoppertinger. And summoning is not a cheap skill, but at the end of the last episode, I was worth about 120 mil or so for my bank value, so I could afford to burn some money for double XP weekend for summoning, especially since I save a lot of time by using my charms on double XP opposed to training a different skill. So the main goal is just to get as close to a pack as I can. Steel Titan if possible, but probably not. Now, I'm not gonna lie, like I spent so many hours before double XP weekend spending charm collecting when they announced it, as well as during the bonus XP weekend itself. And I believe I spent like 16 hours during bonus XP, or 17ish, actually just charm collecting, not training any skills, just charm collecting. A lot of this is not shown because, well, it's obviously dull, so I believe I finished it all using all my charms in under 2 Kayats. As for double XP weekend itself, I was not at all prepared for it. All the charms collected was mostly done in the last week before bonus XP weekend, mostly due to a ton of real life stuff tests that I had to squeeze into the same week. So after 89 summoning, I can now use my blues to make Geyser Titans, and they are god-awful pricey, but it's the best thing to use blues on, so after burning my blues for 91 summoning, I used the rest of my green charms. I had originally planned to use all my green charms to make unicorn stallions with unicorn horns, but I found that they were selling for like over 10k each at some point during bonus XP weekend, so I sold my entire stock of them and bought bananas instead to make fruit bat powder. And it's a bit less XP, but a ton less expensive. So going back to the picture where I'm actually buying and selling some of the stuff, above the one where I sold the 15k unicorn horn, you would see that I'm actually buying royal bolts, and that's because for those who actually looked into the beta server, you would have seen which items are useful, which are not, which ones are more useful than before, and the royal bolts was one of them. The royal bolts have the same range strength as Onyx Bolt, except without the passive effect, and costing a whole lot cheaper, and at the time it was around 100-ish GP, I don't exactly remember. So by next episode, I will have made about 10 mil from just the items, the EOC items that I bought rising. So I'll add that 10 mil to the money I will have made or lost in this episode, because summoning was expensive, so I take some loss from that, but I also made some money back. So I'm adding the 10 mil I will have made to this episode. So after using all my charms now, I got 92 summoning somewhere in there. The weird thing is I don't actually have a clip of it, but I just went to sell the remaining shards I had to the pet shop owner, who pays 25 GP for each shard. So if you want to buy some shards from the Grand Exchange for below 25 GP, you can sell it back to this person for a bit profit. It's not that much, but the profits there is like around 300k per day, just like consistent money. After exchanging the shards for GP, I went to exchange the pouches for shards that I had, then went back to sell the shards for GP, and altogether, I'm not entirely sure how much I lost from just trading summoning over bonus XP weekend, but I would think it's around 20 to 30 mil from just the summoning supplies off secondaries, and just how much money you lose from just making pouches. But all this gets me closer to a pack, which is extremely helpful for camping certain bosses. So after summoning, I went to trade mining, and I got 98 mining, and I got Troll Invasion done again. So I, of course, used it on summoning to get me ever closer to that pack yak. And here's another clip of me using the clan cloak for free XP each week, and I've probably gained over 100k summoning XP from just this already. With EOC coming up, I needed more Dreadnips since I burned a ton of Dreadnips away doing Water Fiends for charms during bonus XP weekend. I got 93 smithing, daily challenges for the comp cape eventually. And for this pick, I'm not entirely sure why it's here, but PKing was covered in the previous episode, the Nills to Build short episode, which is of course linked in the description as with every other episode. After PKing, I got 94 smithing, and since EOC was announced, I took this time to enjoy pre-EOC RS with good friends I have met. And here we got Armadillo gloves from Armadillo, as well as a hilt. And this is loot share, but split larger items. So basically it's coin share. I don't exactly remember if there was a reason we were doing loot share. But back on topic, the main reason I play any game is because of friends, to enjoy something together with friends I know, with people I meet each day, and there are a few exceptions here and there, like the single player aspect to certain games, such as a game with a plot like Final Fantasy X, which has, I think was the first PS2 game I have ever enjoyed or played. And another game I actually played on the PS2 along with Final Fantasy X was Resident Evil 4. I'm not entirely sure which part I like exactly. It was like there was the FPS part, there was some kind of storyline, and the whole zombie thing was, I don't know, it just appealed to me. But as for the idea behind the EOC, I'm probably not going to elaborate on this, but there are pros and cons to it. It completely depends on how they execute the EOC. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Based on... Well, I'm not going to judge it on the first month. I'm just going to let it play out for a bit, see how it goes, and then judge it like a little down the road in hindsight, which is how it should be. Now, as for is this good for the game or is it not? For me, I play because of friends. It's not because of the game mechanics. It's not because of the gameplay. It's partial reason is for that, but most of the reason of why I play is for friends. Of course, people play for different reasons, and they have different reasons to either try it out or not try it out. So later that trip, my friend Josh got Armadillo gloves as well as I. So each person in the party has gotten a drop. We got a God Sword shard at some point, and because this is a trip after bonus XP weekend, I got to enjoy using my unicorn. So it's a ton less clicking than compared to like fruit bat scrolls. So pre-EOC Armadillo to me was always that boss that you kind of gambled on to make money from, because Casey took quite a bit longer. if you didn't have a Steel Titan. And I felt that Arma had like fewer people who actually went there. Not counting Zammy, like because pre-subjugation Zammy was pretty much useless because the only good thing was either a Zammy hilt that was pretty rare or Zammy spears, which was only like 3 mil. But Armadil was the one boss that you could not melee, so people had to mage or range it, and mage pretty much sucks, so you had to range it. And there was kind of a bit of fear factor to it, where if you didn't have a Steel Titan and you died at Armadil, there was pretty much no chance you would get KC in time if your grave wasn't blessed and if you didn't get help. Which reminds me, if like when people do God Wars, there's certain way your bank should be organized so that you spend the least amount of time at the bank and more time actually getting KC or heading back to the bank. Next bank, I mean. So, because a lot of the time I hear people panicking when they died at God Wars, they go to the bank, they think hard on what to bring, fearful on like forgetting one essential thing that they would need, like maybe a God item, summoning pots for a Steel Titan. So they stay at the bank thinking till they realize that they've spent 5 whole minutes just standing at the bank panicking. But I don't think this information would actually help that many people because, like from what I've seen, the people who actually panic are mostly people who don't do PVM that often or just don't plan to do multiple trips of the same boss. So it would be unlikely that they would move their bank around to just get like a quicker KC setup so that they could get out of the bank really quick without it being so unorganized. But for me, like myself, I keep my first 2 tabs empty on purpose so that I could just dump whatever stuff I need for, like say if I was going next, I would have my ceremonial pots in the first 2 tabs and I could just mix it around so that I just go straight across the line for whatever I need. And then I just have a tab towards the end where it's kind of like my junk tab where I just dump whatever I want into there and just go back to it at a later time when I feel like it. So by the end of the trip, we went to the Grand Exchange, sold the items, split it, and it was about a 6 mil split each person. And with the second day of pre-EOC last hurrahs with friend, we went to DK's and got some coin share splits, which I still question if this coin share, if it's actually good or bad for the economy, because it still generates some money into the game. It works for, like the system, the coin share system, it works for low value items that are constantly traded where the price doesn't really change that much. But what happens to higher value items that nobody buys at mid value because the street price is far below that? Like next, Bandos, Arma, where prices are far below the GE value, but people do coin share because you actually get more money from it, because nobody is going to buy it for the actual GE value, because for whatever reason it may be dropping, either because of an update like the EOC coming up, or maybe they announce like bonus XP weekend and people are selling off their armor so that they can buy supplies for skilling. So during the trip, we got a few mud battle staves, a few rings here and there. But a thing about DKs that I never actually understood was why was there blind spots where the mage is unable to see you if you're too far to the east, because you would be able to solo Rex to the southeast, and as long as you stay to the east wall or east side of the room, the mage would not be able to see you, and the ranger is just too far away to even come close. Then there was, why do they have corners on the edge? Like, there's this hilarious meme. I remember, I'll just flash it on screen for like 3 seconds, so pause if you want to read it right now. Where it doesn't make sense for you to be able to safe spot monsters as simple as this, where you just lure it around a corner and then you're completely safe. He can't fight back. He's still chasing you, so it doesn't make sense to me. Then there's the fact that the ranger won't see you if you're too far to the east, and all these blind spots have made Dagannoth King incredibly easy, because what if you weren't able to isolate Rex to the side? What if all Dagannoth Kings actually participated in the fight and not be completely blind that somebody is safe spotting Dagannoth Rex in the corner of the room? Now, some people may feel that having the mage be able to see everybody in the room now, it might ruin the boss, but in my opinion, I just don't understand how it is a boss, how it could even be considered a boss if there is no risk to it. So at the end of the trip, we didn't actually end up with much. We got about decent, like 1 mil-ish per person. We're there for just under 2 hours, and each of us got like, well, I got a decent amount from just like the basic loot that adds up, and totals up to about 1.5 mil each person. But the point was just to enjoy pre-EOC RS with friends. So after that, I got 96 smithing, 97, and I think I got 98 smithing in the Clan Citadel. Then the Tears of Guthix reward came out. I keep forgetting to do these weekly, but it's actually decent XP. I think I only spend like 3 minutes actually doing the minigame, and maybe 1 minute to walk there, or unless I have a game stack list that teleports me right there. And in 3 minutes, I got like 40k XP, which is pretty good for like a level 65 skill. And it gets really, I guess it gets much, much better at higher levels. Although, I need to remember to get penguins done each week. So, as part of the last pre-EOC days, I did some dungeons with a few friends. And in this one floor, I swear I saw like 6 night spiders. And I only got about 2 hoods from them, but that's a lot I've seen. I already have one, but it's just hilarious to see a lot of them. Although I hear that night gazers are a lot more common in the EOC. Then the clan I'm in finally got its second avatar, which this will be more useful in the next and coming up episodes because it heals a percentage HP, which is very useful to nearby clanmates, which is very good for camping certain bosses, and because it heals you and your partner, and whoever else is in the clan who has paid for it. So this is actually really great for Corp because it can't eat the avatar, and you can't bring a familiar there, so this is the best thing to bring. So I did another 2 TDs trip, and like the thing I'm definitely gonna miss the most is Dragon Dagger spec because it was the spec weapon that was really good if they had low defense, and you had the potential to hit really high compared to, like, it could hit just as high as a Dragon Claw, except it was extremely inaccurate. But while killing TDs, I actually picked up another effigy. I think this is the second in the series. I'm not entirely sure. I got the first one earlier, but I'm not sure if I had any effigies before this episode. But yeah, again, I'll probably just start tracking the drops in the description so I remember what items I got, what I haven't gotten, and yeah, I'll definitely miss the GDS spec. So I had to get assist to help open the Dragonkin lamp because I actually don't have the levels. Eventually I got to the lamp and of course used it on summoning, which gets me ever closer to the packet, along with the weekly triple charms. So after a second unsuccessful TD trip, I decided to go Barrows, and on the first chest I actually picked up a dark plate. And those who actually looked into the EOC would have seen that they should have picked up Varrock or Accuracy for the prayer bonus, because since offensive bonus no longer exists on armor, Varrock and Accuracy is pretty good because they have a prayer bonus and have the same defense as anything else their level. Which I kind of find it weird, but I guess it's how it is that they classed Godward's gear with Barrow's gear, so Vandos is going to be useless because it's the same as Darak's, except it's Darak degrades, although they did increase the cost to repair it, but I mean 500k, even that's not that much. But I just find it weird that the EOC would make Varrock and Accuracy extremely good just because they have prayer bonus. So after a few trips with like nothing from the chest, I went a good 30 chests dry. I took a short break to KB, joined the coin share team with in my friend's chat. But I had loot share on and I got Dragon Rider's boot. I mean, I could have kept it, but I mean, it's not that much. So I decided to split it with 3 people there. Now, I don't have a clip of this, but it actually took a couple days to actually sell it for 1.5 mil. So eventually each person got like 500k split from it. And I mean, the mid value was 2.4 mil, but at the time it's not worth that much. It'll probably be worth more in the EOC, but I kept getting nagged at to sell it. And then after KBD, I went back to Barrows. It's a quick to access boss. Not sure if it's good enough to be classified as a boss. It's good, easy access money. Especially since I got the Dragon's Medallion, and I'm actually sad about that they removed the free home teleport from the game. They've added the notice board integrating the recommendation teleports that now do nothing. The recommendation teleports that I used before to get here, before I got the medallion, where it would teleport me to Berg de Rot, that no longer exists. They took it out of the game. I don't know why, but now if you go to the recommendation place and try to teleport, it'll just bring you to the closest lodestone, which is pretty much useless. I don't know why they did this, but I guess you just now have to take the 3-minute trek to get there if you want to go to Barrows. But like I said earlier, Barrows is really good money. Like, it's pretty good money in the EOC because Varrock, Accuracy, just because they have prayer bonus and they're like levels, I think it was 70, I'm not sure if it was 65, no, it was 70, 70 gear. Because they have that prayer bonus on them, it makes them pretty good. Also, apparently Dark is good. I thought they would nerf that, but I guess not. So because God Wars gear got nerfed down to just Barrows gear, and Barrows is the same thing, but it's a lot cheaper because it's degradable, so you have to repair it. There's also that prayer bonus on it. There's Darrox that's oddly overpowered. So Varrock and Accuracy is extremely good. Varrock for melee, Accuracy for maging. All of this just makes Barrows a lot more profitable than it was before. So by the end of the trip, I was just about to give up because I was going some 30-odd chests dry, and I picked up a Guthan's Helm, which I don't know if Guthan's Helm are worth that much, but I mean it's a decent amount. Then after that chest, I actually got a Varrock Helm right after that. So overall, very good trip after that dry streak. So as part of the last pre-EOC days, I attended a clan event. It was a simple DKs event. And this is one of the examples where using a clan avatar with the healing buff is very beneficial, but also a tad dangerous because I had brought the clan avatar with the healing buff along the trip, so it'll constantly heal people in the same clan as me. But since it counts as my own familiar, I can't bring a unicorn along, so I have to rely completely on the healing of the clan avatar as well as the enhanced Excalibur I have. Which is kind of odd again, because the Enhanced Excalibur loses its healing ability in the EOC if you're out of combat. Like, it works okay in combat, but it just doesn't help for Pyramid Plunder where you're not going to be in combat. So during the trips, I don't have all the picks, but we managed to get like one of every unique drop from DKs. That's like the circle, there's all the rings, then there's the staves, and I think we got a Dragon Spear somewhere in there. So during the Clan Mass DK strip, I actually managed to finally get my first prayer level of the series, along with the assist of the Festival of the Dead prayer XP that gives you like 250k bonus prayer XP. But that event kind of ended quite a while ago, but the XP, the bonus XP is still there. Also, I'm not entirely sure how I should go about the next few episodes. Like, I would love to hear from you guys. Because I'm close to 95 prayer, and if I ever, like, I don't plan to get it soon because I like being hindered by not having turmoil. I like not having a pack yak. A unicorn is fine, but in the EOC it's like, you could pretty much soul split the bosses and you would be fine. So I'm not entirely sure what I should do for the next few episodes because I could actually buy 95 prayer for turmoil right now. I have enough money even if I started at level 70. But the thing is, I kind of like being hindered by not having turmoil, although in the EOC, there's a clear difference between curses and normal prayers, because now curses will get a range and mage version, so curses is better in every single way. So, but then if I do get it, then it's like I clearly have an advantage since most bosses now in the EOC, you could soul split because they're putting less emphasis on protection prayers and more on armor. Then there's also like, I don't want to get a pack deck too soon because, I mean, I can get it, but I already have the unicorn and I don't want to get like too far ahead where I get like end game stats and then start doing all the money making. At some point we ended the trip, we made a decent amount from just all the coin share split. I'll have to look it up later for the final result. So after that we went to Corp. I don't know why, but we just did a little Corp event. And again, here is probably where the best use of the clan avatar is because the Corp is unable to eat the avatar. So it stays with you, it heals everybody. And with a tank in the EOC, Corp does no damage. So early in the trip, I believe we actually got a spectral sigil, which I was actually shocked because whenever I go to Corp, I never expect anything because I've seen under 10 sigils, and most of them, only 2 of them were actually an Ellie. I've never seen a divine that I was there for. Like, not counting masses, of course. I've never seen a divine. Which I feel kind of silly because it should have been coin share, but oh well. We missed out on that split. I got some LSP for that, but I actually don't plan to loot share, so it's gonna go to waste. Now for Corp, like before Ganoderma came out, I really hated it because the best thing you had was probably like Karos, and that costed like 5 mil back then. And if you got hit by, even if you were full HP, and even if you had like the max magic level 106 out of 99 with overload, Corp could still hit like a 600 on you. And that was pretty much over half your HP. But now with Ganodermic, he could still do that, but it's less of a chance. And that's kind of something I miss. That under 700 was over half your HP. So if you ever got hit by that, you would have to choose between brewing now just to stay alive, or risk it a bit and maybe soul split it back in like 30 seconds or so. But with that large risk factor with Corp was kind of one of the bosses where I kind of feared him because if I died, I would have. There's actually a pretty big chance I could die. With Nex, it was as long as I know what I'm doing, I'm pretty much safe. There's no chance. There's no random like I'll get hit by like, oh actually maybe with no escape, but even that never actually happens. But with Corb, he could just like randomly hit half your HP. So if you're not paying attention, there's a good chance you'll die. And that's kind of what I miss in certain bosses, where there's that risk factor of dying. Although they're soloing, but again, with soloing, if you don't have Steel Titan, you're pretty much screwed if you die. At the end of the Corp trip, we didn't actually get anything besides that Spectral Sigil, and that was LSP, so I didn't get anything from it besides LSP, but I don't actually plan on using it. So I think this pretty much covers up to the EOC date. I spent the last like 2 days actually nexing with friends. I was planning to make a video about that, but I mean, it's already been 3 weeks into EOC by the time this is released. I'll probably still do that video, like, because I spent the last 2 days nexing with friends. Good friends I met that I haven't actually nexed with in quite a while. But this clip right here, by the way, when I say next, I'm probably on my main account. But this clip here was when I was PKing. I don't think this was covered. It was part of the pre-EOC. No, it was in the last episode where we were PKing, and then we chose another day where we would PK. And that trip just ended badly because we ran into these people who had... Okay, it was pretty unfair for one thing. They were maxed out with Steel Titan, so if I'm in Mage Gear, I'm screwed. So if I want to survive against the Steel Titan specs, I have to put on Rune. But because Rune has poor magic defense, they also have Ganodermic, so I cannot hit magic or melee on them because I didn't bring my rapier. And because I'm in Rune, they have Storm of Arma, so they pretty much covered the entire combat triangle, because if I were Rune, I'm screwed because Storm of Armor hits like 400s. So that covers pretty much everything that covers everything pre-EOC. The next episode starts the EOC portion, which I actually will start on right after I make this. But aside from that, thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.